Welcome to Mental Health Monday. So good to see all of you here with us this evening. It has been 2 weeks. We've missed you, but we're glad that we are back together. Dr. White, my co host, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Sister Tante.
Yes, we are going to continue our discussion on men's mental health and addiction, part two. The first part went so well. There were so many questions I think that we didn't get to. People just had lots of questions. And so definitely share this link on your social media, invite a friend, men and women, because women need to be here so they know how to support the men in their life, their husbands, their boyfriends, their brothers, their sons, their uncles, any man in your life, your friend. This information is for everyone. And so we want you to share this on social media and like the program, share, like if you haven't subscribed to Mental Health Monday or to Living Manna Online Church, please do so at this time. And so we can get this information out to the world. Want to welcome Clint Ives, our first person here that's at least said that he's here, and so we want to welcome Clint. Thank you for showing up as always. You don't even have to put in the chat where you're from, Clint, because we already know from Longview,
Long.
Texas. So we welcome you here to Mental Health Monday. We have Nadia that just signed on or put that she is here. Welcome, Nadia. Please put where you are viewing from as well. So while they're doing that, Dr. White, tell me how you have been. I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks. I did get a birthday text from you, so thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you, thank
no,
you.
life has been good. We've just been over here working. We're not taking vacation like some other people that we know.
You know, when is your birthday? You can take a vacation on your birthday if you want to.
I think I'm going to follow your example. August 6th.
August 6th.
Yeah.
Okay, I will remember that. You are
August 6th.
just 7 days before my brother's birthday. That's how I'm gonna
Oh,
remember.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. He's August
my
14th. Okay.
yeah, my brother's in August as well. Well, I hope you get to take a vacation or do something really fun for your birthday. Because today I went back to work today and I was like, as I was leaving my last client, I was like, you know what? Vacations are needed because I was just like all energetic with the clients and happy, and I just had energy for them. And it was like, I had time off. That's why I have energy. So
That's wild.
that's my self care. And as a mental health professional, Dr. White, you are supposed to have self care as well.
You know what? You're prescribing that to me. I'll take it.
I am. I am. Okay. Well, Nadia hasn't put, maybe Nadia's not on the type of device where you can type and say well, obviously she is because she said good evening.
Oh,
So, but for the rest of you that are just joining, we'd love to see where you're viewing from so we can say a special welcome to you. But all of you that are on, please share with this program on your social media. And again, just share, like, and subscribe. That helps everyone to know that didn't know that we are here, we are on, we are talking about men's mental health, specifically about addiction. So please put your questions in the chat as well, because we will answer some of those this evening. We will try to get to as many as we can. Okay. Dr. White, you specialize in addiction, and
yes, ma'am.
also we might as well plug, you're also going to be one of the speakers for our virtual retreat that Living Manna Church is having this weekend, starting Friday evening, going through Sunday evening, and it's all about addiction. Maybe while people are still logging on, you could tell us a little bit, just give us a little snippet about what you'll be sharing there. We know it's not just for men, it's for everybody. So, but everybody can benefit from what you guys are going to be talking about this weekend.
No, absolutely. What I love about the retreat is that it's committed to not just looking at the chemical or even the traditional addictions. It
Mm,
is going to focus on that. But in addition to that, it's looking at the areas that we don't necessarily always associate with addictions.
okay.
And so Sister Shawneen has really assembled a panel of experts. So at various components of addictions and having different areas of expertise,
Mm-hmm.
so that we're really in a position to answer the questions that might come up that people may
Mm-hmm.
have about addictions. I'm actually going to be talking about um, like the addiction associated with the media today,
Mm.
and the social media, and it's so pervasive.
Mm-hmm.
So in my preparation, one of the things I challenged myself to do was to identify, well, what really is the definition for addiction? And
Mm-hmm.
what I uncovered, Atante, was really powerful,
Mm.
because it then set me up to understand, well, what is the treatment? What's the best way to approach recovery?
Mm.
Understanding what really and truly is the addiction. So you're going to want to show up so that I can share that with you. And you know how expensive this workshop, this seminar is going to be, right?
Yeah, I couldn't believe how expensive it is, but it is absolutely free.
So it's expensive to living manna. It's expensive because, I mean, the time that has been put into organizing it, and you know getting the folk involved, that's expensive, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be free to you.
Yes.
So make sure you take advantage of it. It's going to kick off Friday evening, where we as experts are going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to talk about, give you a preview of the
Mm-hmm.
various areas that we are going to focus on during the weekend. Uh, isn't Pastor preaching Friday evening? Isn't he
I
preaching? You're not sure?
not okay. I know he's preaching Sabbath
Okay,
on
well,
Saturday,
okay,
but I don't think
right.
Friday evening. I
Never
think
mind,
the
never mind, never mind.
okay. I
But
don't
yeah,
think
we're gonna be doing the overview, and then
yeah.
the next day. So I know that during Sabbath school, we're going to be, focused there. But I know in the afterglow, we're going to give folk an opportunity to answer questions. So I believe for Sabbath school, it'll be a panel.
It'll be a
Um,
panel. I get to ask you guys questions.
I don't know why that causes me some anxiety when you say it like that. But such is
Mm.
life, such is life. But yeah, so you're gonna get to ask the panel questions. We'll answer the questions. Then Pastor will be doing a divine hour sermon that is going to be pertinent to addictions. And
Yes.
then in the afterglow, you'll be able to come back and ask us more questions again. Well,
Right.
then on Sunday, then we're gonna come back, and it'll start, I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern time. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'll look at the while you are sharing some information,
Yeah,
I'll double check on that because I
right,
felt like it started earlier, but I will double check.
right. Um, right. So
I'll
you
double
can
check.
confirm that. But then I know I'm going to be speaking at.
Matter of fact, I'll double check now. Keep
It's
speaking.
confusing because of the time change. So I remember the times, but anyway.
Okay.
I'm going to be talking about the three dimensions of purpose, because it's just a really important part of any addiction recovery strategy. So I'm going to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
about how to figure out what the three dimensions of your purpose is, and how you
Right.
can incorporate that into a recovery plan. Because how about, what if you can use this information even if you don't have an addiction, but especially if you have
Mm-hmm.
an addiction, or someone with an addiction, this can really provide you some insight into how to support them.
We all know somebody who deals with some addiction on some level. So definitely invite them. And you know what? I'm gonna toss it to Amra to look up that information to see if the times were right. Cause I was like,
What's the
I'm
exact
doing
time?
this. So I have to focus on what you're saying and doing. So I couldn't really find the times, but Amber will post the times and maybe we can even the link to register if you haven't already registered, like Cliff. Oh boy,
Clint.
it's been a day. It's been a happy day, but it's a day. Clint.
Right.
Sorry, Clint. It's the first time I've called you Cliff. Oh boy, but I caught it really quick. Anyways,
Yeah, you're good.
so you've registered. That's a good Clint, and others. We want you to register too. Again, it's absolutely free. Great information. I have to say, Living Manna Church does provide great programming, retreats, different types of things are absolutely free. And it's just some great information that you're going to be able to get and obtain through coming to this virtual retreat that's absolutely free. All right. So that leads us into men's mental health.
Yeah.
Again, when we did this 2 weeks ago, there were so many questions, and we just thought it'd be great to do a part two. Because some of the questions that started to come in towards the end, we hadn't really talked about that yet. But I'm just going to start with the hottest addiction topic, which people would think like, oh yeah, that's what men deal with. And I will have to like tell them to pump the brakes, because that's not the case anymore. Men and women deal with this, but pornography addiction. That is something that I have to admit that when I became a therapist, really working with clients, I learned that it's not just a men's issue. It's not just something that men deal with, but now women have become addicted to pornography as well. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, you were going to say why. Go ahead.
I was going to say, why is pornography such a hard addiction? Or I don't know if you would even say it. You might correct me. But I was going to say, why is it such a hard addiction to break? But you might think like it's just like any other addiction, but maybe it's not. I don't know. What's your answer?
No, sex addiction is really, really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, foremost, just a little bit of the history on sex addiction. So it used to be that when you said sex addiction, people were like, there's no such thing as, sex addiction.
Right.
And so there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Pat Carnes,
Mm-hmm.
and he is the pioneer in this area. And he actually, I have his book right here. He has his series called Out of the Shadows, and what he chronicles in the book is just the cycle. He has this beautiful, he's got this beautiful cycle where he describes the process that people go through as they go into the sex addiction cycle. The preoccupation, the ritualization, but the big parts to keep in mind with sex addiction is it can be it so much damage can occur before you actually get the nightlife colliding with the day life. And so you will so with sex addiction, it'll follow the same kind of mantra, or what we would describe as the criteria for most other addictions. And I always like to start the discussion about addictions just saying that addictions have two components: compulsion and negative consequences. Clearly, people can engage in sexual practices compulsively. So yes, there's the internet, and that's vast. But we also know people who make very poor decisions around sex. Multiple partners, risky sex, sex that ends up with a child that people weren't planning for, sex resulting in STDs. So this is beyond. And of course there is looking. There is porn as well. But the idea just being that, and then the negative consequences. So compulsion plus negative consequences.
Right.
So I wouldn't say it's easy, because each addiction has its own personality. But the thing with sex, for example, is, or I should say, or has its own nuance. The thing with sex addiction is you can't really just, let's say you're in a committed marriage, for example, in contrast to alcohol, where you can say, I'm going to abstain, or smoking, I'm going to abstain. With sex, you still have to figure out what will be recovery sex, what will be your habit, what will be a healthy attitude towards sex. That's what you're going to have to rehabilitate. And that can be incredibly challenging. The other issue is, let's take, like, for example, heroin or cocaine. There aren't necessarily triggers blazoned all across as
Right.
far as billboards, so on and so forth. But with
Mhm.
sex, there can be so many triggers, so many
Mhm.
triggers. Yeah. So those are some of the things that make it incredibly challenging. But the bottom line was, um, Pat Carnes in the book Out of the Shadows, he
Mhm.
chronicles, stories that I think are kind of in some ways inconceivable to people about the lengths a sex addict will go through.
Mhm.
So having, okay, so the person might be married, but they're having sex with multiple people at their job,
Mhm.
including possibly a supervisor, or just having relationships with people that it's so potentially detrimental to their relationship
Mhm.
until nightlife collides with day life and people become aware
Mhm.
of one another, but they hit this unmanageability,
Mhm.
public sometimes this embarrassment,
Right.
and and again, one of the things that often can lead to suicide is when a person experiences hopelessness plus desperation.
Right.
So you can see how a person who is in the midst of a crisis can feel desperate and hopeless, and that can definitely put them at risk for self-harm. So
Mhm.
I would by no means say that it is one of the easier addictions. And there's also the issue that
Mhm.
with the traditional addictions like alcohol and a lot of and drug addiction, there
Mhm.
can often be a lot of sympathy and even a lot of resources because they've been studied so extensively.
Right.
But with sex, and similar to gambling, sometimes there isn't that sympathy because it's like you're just making poor choices,
Right.
and they can attach
Or
it
you
to
just have a
morality.
very perverted mind or yeah, right. Mhm.
We can be denigrating,
Mhm.
rather than understanding, no, there are some neurobiological processes in play that have been
Mhm.
hijacked.
Mhm.
Their reward system has been hijacked.
Mhm.
Obviously, another interesting thing with sex addiction is, yes, there is often sometimes a past that explains it, a past that might be associated with trauma, and trauma
Mhm.
that might be associated with shame. And so this is the reason why good psychotherapeutic intervention
Mhm.
can help with unraveling why
Mhm.
it is that this person has drifted to behaviors that actually don't serve them in the long term, certainly.
Don't you feel like for any addiction, what you just laid out, that connects to any addiction? But I understand what you're saying about sex, but any addiction, I feel like that's the backdrop or the, or that comes first. Those things come first. It's very probable that those things come first.
Well, so you're talking about like the unifying theme
Mm-hmm.
where addictions are associated with a desire to escape. Like very often,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
it's associated with desire to escape. And so you had the work of Dr. Bruce Alexander, who is famous for the Rat Park studies, where when people talked about addictions and how addictive a substance is,
Mm-hmm.
he instead did an experiment where he concluded it's not the substance that's addictive, it's how awful the living environment is.
Mm.
So basically, his argument ends up being this dislocation theory, where he's arguing when people are removed from
Mm-hmm.
the meaningful aspects of life, it creates a dynamic that pushes them towards addictions
Mm-hmm.
and ways of
Mm-hmm.
coping that are not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is now you're talking about, hey man, what do they all have in common? What they seem like branches off of a common trunk, is what you're saying.
Right. Yes.
And so that big common trunk is compulsion, and despite negative consequences, and then at the root, very often, you'll see trauma in their past, and it kind
Mm-hmm.
of manifesting in this way. Not always, certainly not
Right.
always, because um, if you really believe the neurobiological theory, like you can form poor habits. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily, even if you didn't have a traumatic past, but you
Mm-hmm.
choose to utilize, the cocaine or the methamphetamines, if you expose yourself, your reward system can get hijacked.
Mm.
You get people who made poor decisions in who they choose as a partner, and
Right.
you now see them connected, attached, and they're
Mm-hmm.
choosing this person even when it's clear, man, this isn't serving you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're addicted.
Right. Yes. No, that's wow. Thank you for sharing that because, it's sometimes it's hard to process. Not everybody's story is exactly the same on how they become addicted to a substance or sex addiction or whatever the addiction may be. And so, understanding that, like you said, there's at the root of that trunk where the branches, a lot of that looks like it could be connected, but not all the time. It's not perfectly, doesn't fit in that picture all the time. We want to take your questions on men's mental health and addiction specifically. We're happy that you're here, but as we are continuing this discussion, please put your questions in the chat. Also, the link and the times of the program, the retreat, the addiction retreat that Living Manna Church is putting on this weekend is in the chat. And yes, Sunday starts at 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern
Eastern.
Standard Time. So, yes. But all the times are there in the chat. The link to register, it's absolutely free. So, please, you can check all of that out. Um, again, Dr. White, just wanting to, just help our audience to learn more about addictions and how they work. Why is it so difficult to break an addiction?
Hmm. Well, so we are set up on a system of reward
Mm-hmm.
where, like, our bodies are designed to reward us when we engage in certain life-sustaining activities.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, drinking water, interacting socially, sexual activity, which is really important for procreation
Mm-hmm.
and perpetuating the species. So, you literally get a dopamine hit when you engage in these activities. Well, what's interesting with addictions is, let's say, for example, having a great conversation gave you a dopamine hit of 15 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now if you get a hit of whether it's cocaine or methamphetamines, instead of 20, now it's like 200 or something. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
just really insane. But then changes are happening in the brain where you're in pursuit of that high, but something else interesting happens where the high you used to get, it
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's no longer a high anymore. So in other words,
Mm-hmm.
what you'll see is, we all can remember this from back in the day when people were on crack. When they were on crack, they didn't want to do anything else. They didn't even
Mm-hmm.
care about sex. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't care about anything else. They're not thinking about a job. They're not thinking about relationships. All they were thinking about was another hit of crack. And
Mm-hmm.
so it has a way of hijacking the system that it was designed for,
Right.
and then interfering with your ability
Mm-hmm.
to gain the reward from doing those other life sustaining activities.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is neurobiology explaining what it is that you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the things. And so, like, and to help bring it home, the phrase is, the chains of habit start so light that they're
Mm-hmm.
not noticed until they're so heavy they can't be broken.
Mm.
So it's kind of subtle,
Mm-hmm.
as it just forms this coil around you. Like, if you ever seen an animal wrestling with a python, and until it
No.
is until you never seen a python taken like on the Discovery Channel, like they're fighting with it, and all of a sudden you just see the
No.
the python. And thank you so much for your cooperation, co-host.
I mean, I know, I'm sure that's out there. I know you've seen it. I just never seen it
Really.
myself.
No, I get you. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
But like you just it's subtle, but it's profound, and it gets you.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's that neurobiological component that really that really does the trick, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You said by the time it's already a full addiction, it's you don't recognize it. You don't recognize it, or you don't know, the person doesn't know they're addicted until it's a full addiction. I mean, is that why addicts are in denial? Like people can see it early on, like either family members or friends, they can see, okay, there's an issue, but addicts always deny, like, no, I don't have a problem. Like, no, it's not a big thing. I can quit anytime.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing this point out, because
Mm.
an addict will be like homeless, still saying, "Oh, I could quit whenever I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could quit whenever I want." Like, no, it's like, um, in fact, most of the people I discharge from my unit, they leave with the phrase, "I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
Mm.
It's not going to happen again." And these are frequent readmissions. It's almost like,
The
it's
ones who say that when they leave with that attitude, you say you see them again.
oh, no question. Like obviously there are patients I discharge and I never see again, right? But
Right.
I'm just saying I have some patients who they come back repeatedly. Like in the field we call it frequent flyers. And without fail, when they leave, they say, "I'm done. Never gonna do it again, doc. I'm
Mhm.
done."
Mhm.
So there is absolutely a lack of insight regarding the severity of the illness.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, I just want you to know that your third co-host, or the third co-host, Clint, says yes, it's a python, shows that ambush constricting nature of Satan, of Satan and son or something. Yeah. So yeah, you're the other co-host, Clint.
That's what I'm
You
talking about. Thank you for your support, Clint. I'm just playing.
I knew it was a real thing. You can tell I don't watch animal shows. Sorry, but
Well, that was the only thing we could watch on Sabbath, so
you were like, I'm going to take a deep dive. Yes.
oh man.
No. No. Thank you for answering that question. That makes a lot of sense, because I know it's frustrating for family members and friends and people who to watch, their family member or friend go through that process, the addiction process of denial, and just not even recognizing that they're making a mess of their own life, of their, either if they're married, their spouse's life, their children's life, like they're losing everything. And just to not be the addict and just be a family member supporting, or a friend of the addict, it's very traumatizing for them as well to go through that process.
And and just to support families that sometimes are watching this,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like, "I don't get it. I don't understand how they don't see how this is destroying their lives."
Mm-hmm.
Um, we all can fall back on having made a poor decision
Mm-hmm.
that was clear to everybody else. Like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, don't do that. But you just couldn't see it because you were so close up to the situation.
Right.
Whether it was sometimes a romantic relationship, sometimes it might have been a family member that's pulling the wool over your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, if you are careful and objective in reviewing your life, you will encounter a situation where you were
Mm-hmm.
just too close to it, and you just
Mm-hmm.
you just couldn't see what those around you could see. And I'm saying this not to be unkind, but
Right.
just to give you a reservoir you can draw from in
Mm-hmm.
understanding the power of deception.
Mm-hmm.
We've all sinned and come short of the glory, but we've all at some point struggled with something, or are struggling with something
Right.
now. that others can see if they were in a situation like, bro, all you gotta do is this.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it because you're just too close to it.
Just too close. Yeah. I want to just remind everybody that we're taking your questions. So please, if you have questions for us about addiction and men's mental health, please put it in the chat so we can answer your questions. You said something with that last statement that you made, and you said it kind of quickly, but you just said, if you could be addicted to a relationship, and that made me think. People think, oh. Some people are addicted to love, or what they think is love, or those kind of things. You think like, oh, how can you be addicted to love? But really, or being in love, I should say, is it really an addiction to a relationship, or are people just afraid to be alone so they don't leave a toxic relationship? Do you see what I'm saying? Because if the relationship is healthy, I wouldn't necessarily call it an addiction. You want to be with that person, right? I mean, it's a good relationship, but if the relationship is bad and you won't leave it, and people feel like you're addicted to just the thought of, okay, I'm in a relationship. Do you think it's they don't want to be alone, or it's really an addiction?
So you're hitting on, it's a really powerful question that you're asking,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll go to the one on the screen. But
Okay.
super powerful, because what you're highlighting is, okay, um, well, I talked before about negative circumstances driving a person to make a poor choice. In
Right.
this situation, the negative circumstance is being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then if a person comes from some kind of traumatic past where they have a lot of self-hatred, and
Mm-hmm.
they have a difficult time being alone. So
Mm-hmm.
now there's pressure to make the choice. And so now they're drawn now to now being with a person. And now
Mm-hmm.
here's where now we start talking about broken picker syndrome, where they don't just want to be with a person,
Mm-hmm.
they're drawn to people who are toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
the trauma of their past, the damage from the past has conditioned them to be attracted to people who are toxic. And not
Mm-hmm.
just attracted to people who are toxic, repulsed by people who are non-toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
because people will at times have options, and they'll actually reject the option and say, "Ah, he's boring. Good guys finish last. I like a guy who knows what he
Mm-hmm.
I like a guy who knows what he wants, and is kind of edgy, and not realizing like, yeah, but you're being conditioned to people who don't value you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's even a feeling that, and this is true for guys and girls, there's a feeling like if they valued me, there must be something wrong with them,
Right.
you know. So Atante, it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just, and then the last piece that I'll add is just when a person has sex, there's the release of oxytocin, which is the
Mm-hmm.
trust hormone. It binds you to the
Mm-hmm.
person. Same hormone released when kids are breastfeeding, and that bond is taking place.
Mm-hmm.
But it occurs with sex, and so they now trust this person, and it's not like the
Mm-hmm.
chemical distinguishes. So now you're trusting toxicity potentially, but there's also the release of dopamine. So you're addicted and you trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are the things that happen. So of course you can get addicted to a person.
Right. Okay. Okay, let's see. First, Mike White, that's who it is. Okay, he says, does God give us desires to be with a woman we aren't married to? No. Okay, but we'll go. Like Jacob had with Rachel. How can we tell if our desire is God's will, or when to stop pursuing someone? I'm just currently going through the book of Genesis. I'm sorry, I had to take a first stab at it. And so,
Please, please.
um, so Jacob didn't, God didn't give Jacob. Remember, Jacob was deceived into marrying, or yeah, he was deceived into marrying Leah, his Rachel's sister, and so that wasn't God's will. God didn't put him in that situation, and he really loved Rachel, but he then had to stay married to Leah and work, and to work, to work to be able to marry Rachel. So that wasn't, when you're asking, does God do that? God doesn't do that. So man's evilness put Jacob in that situation. And then if you continue to read, it started to become a competition of how many sons. Leah was able to bear more children, and Rachel was so desperate that she started to make bad decisions herself, bringing in her handmaid so that there could be more children from her side. And then Leah tried to do the same. My whole point of bringing that up is that those things that they were doing, just because they're in the Bible, doesn't mean that was God's will. So to answer your question, no, God does not give you the desire to be with women who you aren't married to.
Man, can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and Mike, the other interesting thing that I'm seeing is we so often approach the challenges in our lives in the following fashion. All right,
Mm-hmm.
God, do you want me to have this or do you want me to have this? Like, pick one, God. Which one is it? And
Mm-hmm.
all this kind of stuff. And Mike, what's the question we often don't ask in our prayer lives? Lord, what do you want from me?
Mm-hmm.
We approach our prayers leading with our desires rather
Mm-hmm.
than trying to acquaint ourselves with, wait, Lord, what is your perfect desire for me?
Mm-hmm.
And my sense is like that's what would help us the most. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not drilling down too much on the question because the good news is I don't think most of us are going to be facing that situation in the United States of America. I don't think people are going to be tricking us into marrying people. And after that debacle, I think most of
Mm-hmm.
us want to see our spouse, on that wedding night, So I don't think we're facing that.
Right.
But what we are facing is not attuning our desires to the desire of God.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that's the struggle. That's the area. Like, instead of this is what I want, Lord, what if the
Mm-hmm.
prayer was, Lord, what do you want from me? I
Mm-hmm.
want to be aligned with your perfect will for my life.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what tricks would emerge from that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Clint says it seems as if these addictions all around self are okay. It seems that these addictions all around self, there appears to be a battle of not needing to please self. Letting go of self's desires are pertinent to freedom.
Now that's an interesting perspective as well,
Yes.
Clint. And I this was not taught to me at one of my like addiction workshops or what have you, or
Mm-hmm.
in fellowship, but I actually went to a more spiritually oriented workshop that taught me something profound, and I've mentioned it here before.
Mm-hmm.
Desires, if you drill down to the actual desires are pure.
Mm-hmm.
Desires are pure. um what often happens is our pure desire is hijacked for a counterfeit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what tends to happen. You take a person who, for example, desires sexual intimacy. Actually, what they're longing for is intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what they want is to be validated
Mm-hmm.
and to feel closeness,
Mm-hmm.
and to be comforted, right? Those are all pure things. Those are all
Mm-hmm.
pure things.
Right.
It's just that as the prior participant mentioned, but what the devil will do is he will stick another, he'll stick a corrupted counterfeit, slip it right in
Mm-hmm.
and tempt you to address a pure desire with a corrupted practice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just to be just to be a little transparent, I remember right before getting married, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
dating my wife, and of course we're madly in love,
Right.
and I'm constantly having to guard my thoughts, okay? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
constantly pulled towards an unholy place. Just use your imagination, folks,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? I remember after I said I do, that was the end of those thoughts.
Mm.
That was the end of those thoughts, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it just shows you that there is this negative pull that you do have to guard your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You absolutely have to guard your thinking. But that was the
Mm-hmm.
end. There was no more of that. So anyway, good
Yes.
questions. Very good
Yeah,
questions.
that was a good, those were good questions and comments. Thank you. Please, we have a few more minutes, like 10 more minutes before Mental Health Monday is gonna be over, but definitely we can still take a few more of your questions. Please put in the chat if you have a question or you have a comment to our discussion today about men's mental health and specifically talking about addiction. But what you're sharing is so true. And now I mean, honestly, because how God made our dear men, it's like I do feel for you because sometimes it's not just you could be minding your own business and your thoughts are not even going in that direction, but there's things in the world that will trigger. I mean, there's it could be on social media, it could be right in front of you, it could be whatever it is that can trigger a man to start thinking that way. And so I feel like there's always I'm not a man, but I feel like there's always a mental battle that they're not even that when I say mental battle, I just mean because anything can just pop in front of your face, and then you have to, just take your mind or thoughts somewhere else because you weren't purposely trying to go there, but there's just images and things that are always being thrown at you.
Well said. I mean, well said. It's like I'm sure you've heard the expression sex sells.
Yeah.
And so it will be used generously,
Mm-hmm.
generously. But it's really sad when you get a person who's struggling with a sex addiction and just to see the superfluous, gratuitous, it's just an onslaught of
Mm-hmm.
images that can potentially be a constant trigger, even when you're trying to mind your own business.
Well, that's what
So,
yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like you could just be like, okay, minding your own business, and there it is, always being pushed in your face, and so that can be very challenging.
yeah.
That can definitely be very challenging. We are getting closer to the end. I just want to remind everyone, and the link to the retreat is in the chat again. So if you want to attend the absolutely free the virtual addiction retreat that Living Manna Church is sponsoring this weekend, starting Friday evening, I believe. Well, you guys
7
look at
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Eastern,
Central Standard Time, I believe. But the
7:30. So,
Okay, 7:30. We'll go through the chat. If you when you click on the let me make it even easier. When you click on the link, you're going to get all the times. So when you register, you're
right,
going to get all the times.
right.
But it's Friday evening during the church service of on Saturday afternoon. There's going to be at the Sabbath school time a panel of professionals. Dr. White is one of them that will be doing talking about addiction. Pastor Myers is going to be delivering a sermon about that as well. And then in the afterglow, you guys get to come on and ask your questions. They get to ask you guys questions, right,
Yeah,
Dr. White?
they absolutely get to ask questions. Some of the guests will include David Sedlacek.
Mm-hmm.
So he is yeah, he's a therapist, an addiction expert.
Right.
He's in recovery
Mm-hmm.
himself. Our
Mm-hmm.
very own Ross. What's
Yes.
Ross'
Ross
last name?
Brower. Ross Brower.
Our very own Ross Brower.
Yeah, him
Um,
and his
I
wife are small group leaders of our addiction recovery small
living.
group.
So, shout out to Ross. Shawneen is going to be. I know we have a chef that's also going to be talking about some recovery methods,
Hmm.
as well.
Okay.
So like I just mean she really tried to cover the gambit
Yes.
as far as um, supporting people recovering from addictions, and
Right.
not just looking at it from a traditional perspective, but
Yes.
yeah, looking
Yeah,
at it.
that's going to be really good. And that's all day, or at least during the or during church service, and then again in the afterglow. And then on Sunday, it looks like from 12 p.m. Eastern time. I think it's 12 p.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. Eastern time. It looks like you guys will have little workshops that are going on. So
That is
you're going to want to register. It's free. I mean, it's like you're going to, even if you're not dealing with addiction personally yourself, you will want to share this with someone or just learn how you can even better support someone who is going through that. And so everyone can be blessed by attending this virtual addiction retreat. You're not going to want to miss that. So, I want to ask a final question, and I'm saying final. If while I'm asking my question, if you think of a question, we can get your question in too. So put it in the chat. Um, and I didn't pre-think this question, but I have this addiction specialist here right before me. So I don't even know. As a therapist, because I'm not an addiction. I don't specialize in addiction, but I have been able to help some of my clients who are dealing with addictions. And but I want to just ask, like, as a therapist, how would you say, what is the best technique to be able to help somebody dealing with addiction? What is the number one thing they need from those who are just trying to support them and help them?
so this is something this was a method of supporting addiction recovery
Mm-hmm.
championed by it's the acronym is CRAFT. It's like community, like
Mm-hmm.
recovery. Sorry, CRAFT. I can't remember exactly what it stood for,
You guys Google
but
it,
right,
craft and addiction.
CRAFT,
It'll
right,
come
and
up.
it's a beautiful acronym. But
Mm-hmm.
what it champions is you reward the person struggling with addictions
Mm.
with your presence when they're engaging in recovery behavior.
Okay.
And then addiction behavior you back away from.
Mm-hmm.
I talked last time about the book Codependent No More by
Right.
Melody. I think her name is Beatty,
Mm-hmm.
and
It is.
and there's a temptation for a person supporting a person with addictions to try to do for them what they need to do for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like trying to take away their autonomy,
Mm.
and and autonomy is sacred. You know,
Mm-hmm.
God gives us free will,
Mm-hmm.
um, even even when He knows we're going to make poor choices. But that's how seriously He honors free will.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as much as we would like to take away the decision making, um, there's a degree to which you have to respect it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are millions of scenarios that are under the statement I just made. So that's why there's quite a bit of nuance with what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But all that said, so the best support that you can provide is declaring your boundary,
Mm-hmm.
clarifying the consequences one way or the other, and then
Mm-hmm.
honoring that. So take the time to think it through,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting yourself support. Sometimes when you are having to navigate having a loved one with addiction,
Mm-hmm.
it's so all consuming, you can
Right.
forget about your mental health. You
Mm.
can forget about even your medical issues.
Right.
You can start to forget about the other loved ones in the vicinity, which of
Mm.
course can make them fairly resentful. And
Because
and
you're just trying to help the one that is currently dealing with the addiction. You get
right.
swallowed up in helping them, trying to help them with their addiction, that you forget about everything else.
which is all the more reason why you have to make that demarcation.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a second. Am I going overboard? Am I crossing the border into the region where I'm trying to do for them what they need to do for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
So this is now where the support can be really helpful with the codependent no more groups,
Mm-hmm.
where they
Mm-hmm.
can actually teach you some things that are completely counterintuitive. This is
Mm-hmm.
where your own therapy is really important, so that you can start, gaining some perspective and saying, wait, I can provide this support, but at this point this is more enabling than actually
Mm-hmm.
providing support, and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's counterintuitive.
Right.
So those steps are really important. And then the family getting on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
them having a setting where everyone gets to kind of articulate what they've been experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's traumatic to everyone. And sometimes the family silos. People
Right.
just kind of go to their corner, and they're watching this primary person just pour all their resources, even when it's no longer serving the situation per se.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Rather than this step back taking place, you get some clarity, you gain some
Mm-hmm.
perspective, um, you realign as a family and approach it
Mm-hmm.
as a family, and not let
Mm-hmm.
yourself be victimized by splitting. And then you can see why professional support is so critical, or involvement in a 12-step community for
Mm-hmm.
the families of an addict, for the families or significant others. They're
Mm-hmm.
nicknamed CODA, and
Mm-hmm.
these are codependency no more
And
groups.
doesn't alcohol have their own for families? Aren't they called something else for I thought they had a different name. That there was one specifically for families trying to support
Well,
a recovering alcoholic.
there's, I mean, my goodness, just pop it in the chat. What
Yeah.
support is there for the family and loved ones of addicts? I mean, pop it in the chat, GPT,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and you'll get the
Mm-hmm.
resources. Don't forget to check in on the craft model
Right.
for addiction
Mm-hmm.
recovery, because I think that'll be helpful to you as well. But yeah, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
see CODA groups. There's even children of alcoholics. Like, there's even groups for that, like, because
As there
again,
should be.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
traumatic experience.
It's very
um
traumatic. I think I've worked with because again I'm not an addiction specialist, but I do work with many clients who either are the spouses of either they a past they well the relationship ended, but an addict that they used to be married to, or children that were raised by an alcoholic or an addict. And so yeah, the trauma and the things that can happen to the children and the spouse and the marriage are just they're horrible. And I think, of course, what the addict is doing within the relationship, the marriage, the family relationship is so bad, but also because so many people don't go out and get support. To be able to cope with an addict and be in a relationship, whatever type of relationship that is, with an addict. So I think that's so very important.
well, the worst part of suffering is suffering in silence.
Yes. Yes, Renee, you can ask a question if that's Renee. I could someone saying, can they ask a question? Yep,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
still
please do.
on. If we're still
Yeah,
talking, you can ask a
yeah,
question. And we're
yeah,
still talking. And we
yeah.
started a little bit late, so I have to give a little bit more time. Go ahead,
Give it some grace.
Dr. White.
But the worst part of suffering is suffering in silence.
Yes.
And you want to maintain this mask, like everything is okay,
Right.
and inside there's gunfire going on in your mind. There's a war going on in your mind, but you're
Mm-hmm.
smiling like everything's peaceful, and you're trying to maintain this persona like everything is okay. And the cost to that is the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes with the isolation is the absence of the information sharing that can occur
Mm-hmm.
when you get into a setting where people can share with you stuff that's actually counterintuitive to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not guaranteeing the whole safe space thing, okay?
Right.
I'm not saying there is not a risk of, stuff getting out. Um yeah, you definitely have to think about it. But what I will say is secrecy gives the disease power.
Mm,
Secrecy gives the disease power.
yes.
When you attend a 12-step meetings, one of the things that you witness is people acknowledging their addiction,
Right.
and it's so freeing. And it's like I was
Hmm.
looking at this and I was thinking it would be so dope if you could walk into church and be like, dude, man, I'm struggling with porn, or i'm
Right. And just
struggling
be
i'm struggling
real.
with gossiping, or
Right.
I'm struggling with food, and like you could just be real. You could just put your name tag on, and people, oh, I'm with you, brother. I'm
Yeah.
right there. And I don't
Yes.
feel any pride because I'm wearing my sign, you're wearing your sign, and we can just keep it real.
Can I say something? And I think I've said it on here before, but I had to go to a AA meeting, and it was actually for a project. This is when I was in school, but it was the I didn't know what to expect because I had never been, but it was just to me, it was like a spiritual meeting because people were being so free and so open. And the way that they just supported each other and they were all on the same, no, there was no judgment. There was no, we just want to help each other succeed. Honestly, church needs to, okay, let me say this. Peoples need to take a page out of AA's playbook. You know what I'm saying? Or just to have that type of non-judgment, just we're just trying to support each other. Nobody's trying to be higher. Nobody's like, it's just like it's all love because you're all in the same boat. And really, as Christians, we're all in the same boat. We're all sinners. So who cares what your issue is? My issue is let's just support each other and not have to feel like you have to hide. To me, it because that makes you walk around like, oh, I have shame. I'm not good enough. I'm all the things that come from that. It's just so not healthy. But we have a question.
No,
All
that
right.
was dope. That was, and you heard it from the pastor's wife.
Just come as you are. Okay, tips to overcome lust, pornography. So far, I do weight training to redirect those thoughts. Thank you. All right.
Tips for overcoming lust
They would
and
like some tips.
pornography.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Christ gave a super helpful tip in this area. And what Christ forecasted is this battle begins in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
This
Absolutely.
this battle begins with the mindset of what if I'm being viewed? What if I'm not as alone as I think I am?
Mm-hmm.
But it begins with the mind. And so in the mind, okay, what are my thoughts? What are my seriously, like, what are my thoughts? What are the thoughts that I'm having about women, or for women, what are my thoughts that I'm having about men? Am I
Mm-hmm.
letting my thoughts go there?
Right.
Or am I systematically going to something else?
Mm-hmm.
So Renee, uh, and I'm not saying you have to necessarily be extreme percent, and you might be asking for a friend. So I'm not saying that this is directed to you. But one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I see with folk in recovery is they're often so driven.
Mm-hmm.
They're often so driven, meaning they don't leave themselves downtime,
Mm-hmm.
or they're not sloppy about downtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's planned. It's regimented. Like you just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, you mentioned the importance of some physical training, because that's a component. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you discipline your body, it disciplines your mind. So
Absolutely.
that's good. But there are seven vitals that you
Mm-hmm.
can invest your energy into, so that your
So plug your
calendar,
book.
huh?
Go
Oh,
ahead and plug
well,
your book. I mean, but it's because it's listed all there. So why not?
they're listed here, and they're listed there. And so I gotta just put the link in the description. So
Yeah,
the book
maybe
is
Emma can do
entitled
that. Hmm.
Killing Burnout, Mastering the Art of Resilience. Killing Burnout, Mastering the Art of Resilience. and we list the 7 vitals, and we talk
Yes.
about how you can design your life in a way where it's filled with your vitals, like you're
Mm-hmm.
putting intention into it. And that's because downtime, and I don't want to, I'm not talking about busyness. I'm
Right.
not talking about busyness, because it's not just about being busy, it's about being meaningful.
Right. The
it's
seven
about it's
vitals.
about
Mm-hmm.
meaningful activity. And so, since you're taking notes,
Yeah.
Renee, number one is spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is your relationships. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
hope you see each of these vitals that I'm listing. This is a day-long workshop per vital,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? The next of so relationships, and then relationships, we talk about the relationship with yourself versus the non-romantic relationships versus romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
The third is resources, managing your resources in such a way where they're not a stressor, because stress is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. It pushes you towards addictions, like, and a desire to escape. Time. Time is a huge weapon. Like, strategic use of time is super important, so that you again are not left with moments that
Mm-hmm.
leave you vulnerable to hijack.
That's right.
Health, mental. There are a lot of people who are not doing the homework to identify what was the trauma, so that you
Mm-hmm.
can then engage in repair, so that you are not left again vulnerable to being hijacked by these moments
Mm-hmm.
of shame and a desire to escape. Number
Mm-hmm.
6 is purpose. There's a reason as soon as God made man and woman, he gave them a purpose. So at the
Mm-hmm.
Mastermind Institute, we talk about the 3 dimensions of your purpose. And it's so important. That's why that's going to be the focus of my talk on Sunday. So you'll want to show up for that. And
Mm-hmm.
then the seventh vital is rest slash recreation.
Mm-hmm.
Rest slash recreation. Systematically, periodically engaging in activities from which you emerge rejuvenated. You guys all saw that smile on Sister Tante's face. You saw how
Mm-hmm.
calm she is. You didn't have to tell us that you'd been on vacation. You know, it's just radiating. Because that's the importance of rest and recreation. So the
Mm-hmm.
7 vitals. And so now, as you design your battle plan for recovery, you just incorporate those 7 vitals.
Yes. That was a great question. Thank you. And great answer. I'm glad you were able to plug your book because it is an amazing read. So definitely, I don't know if we can put the link. I don't know if there's a link for that, but you could even, it's on Amazon. Isn't it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. It is
Okay.
on
So,
Amazon.
so
I
just,
will, here's the link. I'll
okay.
put it for you.
Okay, well, I want to just plug the retreat
One more.
that starts on Friday evening with here at Living Manna Church. It'll be in the during the divine worship service. It'll be during Sabbath school. It has an during the afterglow. The retreat will carry on into there, and then on Sunday, 11 a.m. Central Time to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time and Eastern time, that's 12 to 1. I'm sorry, 12 to 5. And so please, definitely, the link is in the chat. You can register for the retreat. It's absolutely free. Again, Dr. White will be one of the speakers for that retreat. And again, the book, there's the link. The link is in the chat as well. And you can get the book that Dr. White co wrote, right? It was
Yeah,
you.
I was a
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, you want to get that book because it definitely can help you have an understanding of how to balance your life into such a way where it will help you to deal with addictions and other things in life, just stress. Like it says, killing burnout. It's just it's such a I've spoken on the topic using his book, and it's just really encouraging to so many people on just to deal with the things that life throws at them and how they can just kill burnout
Yeah.
and balance their life.
Well said. Yeah, Renee, we just want to, say thank you so much for what you shared. You're being
Mm-hmm.
really transparent. And
Yeah.
my hope is that you will get the therapeutic support, the
Yes.
individualized, customized therapeutic support to help you in your journey for recovery.
Hmm.
Get the help that you need. We definitely would encourage that.
Most definitely. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to Mental Health Monday. We will see you next week, but also just check out that link to register for the retreat because we'd love to see you there as well. All right. Have a good evening. Thank you, Dr. White, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take care. Bye bye.